So it's demo time. We're going to do a little environment tour. I'll show you some of that. I'll show you how to load some data into Hadoop. I'm going to show you how to create a table from that data so you can see kind of how that process works. We're going to consume that data, and then we'll use it to build something awesome. And I'll show you how all of that works. All right? So the very, very first step is we need to go over to HadoopOnAzure.com right here. HadoopOnAzure.com. And so when you have that and you go over there, the first thing that you're going to see is your ability to request a new cluster. Now, I've already requested my cluster today, and because it takes about 10 minutes or so to spin up, I couldn't do it live for you. So this is my one screenshotted portion of the demo, but very, very simple. You're going to pick a DNS name. It'll tell you if it's available, kind of like picking a domain. I just kept it simple, using my last name. And then I've got a login that I created, just a username and a password. It'll give you some guidelines over here when you're typing in the password. If you want to use SQL Azure or Windows Azure Data Services, depending upon when you took the screenshot, to store your metadata from Hive in, if you have a lot of metadata, you may want to do that. I don't need to worry about that right now, and it would have added complexity to my demo, so I said, we're just going to forget that for the time being. And I clicked Request Cluster. And that started spinning up. And I will flip over to my other screen and show you what arrives. All right. So you guys should be seeing my, it says Use Hadoop 1.0, and then I've got my interactive dashboard here. And so we're going to take a quick tour of this interactive dashboard. There's a number of different things that we can do right here from our sort of home page, right? To start with, we have this interactive console. Interactive console is going to give us the ability to run some interactive JavaScript commands, to be able to upload files or create directories or manage our file system, whatever we want to do. We've also got a Hive console. We can click on this button over here, and we can do some things in Hive. We can create new tables. We can run queries. We can do those types of things. I'm going to come back and show you some examples in this pane here, and we'll browse through some of these in just a minute. That's a critical part of our demo. We also can remote desktop into our actual cluster. So how do we do that? Well, we just click on our remote desktop, and I had already remoted in, so it's just going to go ahead and connect for me. And you'll notice over here we've got the ability to, let me close these and I'll show you how I got there. I can open up my name node, my web page here. This is all my information about the individual nodes in my cluster, their in service, what their IPs are. I can look at the logs. I can see all my storage directory, all that kind of good stuff. Then I can come over here to my MapReduce administration. Again, MapReduce are my batch jobs. So think of this like Zookeeper. And again, I can see which jobs are running. You'll notice if I scroll down, I've got some job history, and we'll go a little deeper into that here in a little bit once we actually run some jobs and do some stuff. So we've also got some ports here. These default to closed, so you're going to want to make sure you come in here, toggle them open. ODBC and FTPS, very, very important. Before you start doing any work, that's usually the first thing I do, is to try to make sure that's open. We can come in here and configure some disaster recovery. We can import data directly from the Azure Data Market, by the way. Very, very cool. And we can integrate our Azure Blob Storage and our Amazon S3 accounts, so we can pull data in from those sources as well. Again, we have our job history right here in the portal. We've also got some samples. I like samples. These are all example programs that you can run that showcase, some of the things that Hadoop is good at. Major sorting and streaming and classification and clustering algorithms, and even just doing things like word count and distinct capabilities, as well as showing off how to use Scoop to connect data between SQL Azure and HDFS. So take a while when you get into this and just walk through the samples first. They're very self-explanatory. If you want, let's take a look at one of those really quick just so you have an idea of what you're getting into. You can actually click Deploy to your cluster. It'll push all the files out exactly where they need to go. And then you can just read through the steps, and it's going to say go ahead and deploy the cluster, and then go ahead and run these things in the JavaScript console, and here's what it's going to do, and it's going to give you all the code and all the examples, very, very step by step. All right, so good thing to go check out. The other thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that we install the appropriate version of this Hive ODBC driver. So I've already done that. It's a next finish kind of install, very, very simple. But you're going to want to download the correct version whether you're on a 32-bit or 64-bit platform. If you're working with any sizable amount of data, of course, I would recommend really try to stick to that 64-bit version of the platform if at all possible. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to give you guys a little tour around the interactive console, and then we're going to upload some data, and then we're going to do some things with that data. So the end goal, and what I'm trying to show you today, is we're going to go from taking some data that I've gotten as a developer or as a power user, uploading it, creating a table in Hive, and then using that table in Hive to create a interactive Power View report that's going to give us some really cool visualization to be able to get back to the user. And being that it's 11:20 and I want to finish a few minutes early for questions, I'm going to try to do all of this in 25 minutes, which is you guys should be able to recreate even on your lunch break. All right? So a couple key things here for those of you who are not Unix folks or Linux folks. I'm not totally self-admitted. I am not a Linux or Unix guy. I have some Mac OS scripting experience, which has helped me a little bit here, but nothing significant at all. There's a great how-to guide right over here in, I think it's in downloads. Yep, right here. That walks you through running a bunch of these demos and gives you some ideas on things you can run from the console. But I'm going to give you a few today that are going to be helpful. So the most important one to start with is help. And it's going to give you, kind of a list of all the different types of things we can do. So we can run a pig query. We can use, create, Hive files and Hive queries. We can run compiled jar files, which would be, a Java program that maybe is doing some MapReduce. We can parse data. We can parse data from Hive. We can do a number of those types of things.